What is up, guys?
Hey, this is Dark Avenue, and remember, every legend was once a prospect.
What's up, guys? DDP back for another episode of Live with DDP. Great title, I know. Very original. I'm quite proud of myself. Well, because I had to cut the stream a little short last night, I decided... Rangers King, I see you, man. Because I cut the stream last night a little shorter than usual, I decided I was going to do a live with DDP tonight to kind of make up the gap. Give you guys whatever update that I could. It appears, as has been the case a lot lately, missing out on Rangers King 669. That's unfortunate. We're gonna have to figure out your schedule, man. Make that work. Buddy Johnson, what's up? So, kind of like the last Friday night, which I chose a really awkward time block, I know, but I did a live with DDP then as well. Just an open forum, basically. Just whatever we want to talk about and roll with, that's what we're going to do. So, go boys indeed, DJ. What's up? Also, I tried out some different CSS stuff here on the chat. The comments are staying. So I've made improvement, but I'm still not in love with how it's displaying necessarily. So I'll see what I can adjust there. But for now, I think we're in a pretty good spot. At least your stuff will stay on the page, and if there's a lull in conversation, it doesn't suddenly look like no one has said a word. That's more for my own visual aesthetic than anything, though. So... I can't remember who exactly it was yesterday that asked, but someone was asking me if Ryan Broekhoff had officially signed with the Mavericks. At the time, the answer was no. As of today, the answer is in fact yes. As of sometime around 1:30 today, Ryan Broekhoff has officially signed with the Dallas Mavericks. So that's really good. That gets them a legitimate three-point shooter. I think he shot about 50% from the international three-point line in the past year and everything. So that's a significant upgrade there. It helps offset a big part of the loss with Doug McDermott. And I think Broekhoff will surprise with his defensive efficiency as well. He's not like a lockdown defender by any means, but I think he's a good team defender within the structure. If he's got other guys around him, I think he can hold his own reasonably well. So we'll see what that turns out with, but that's the gist of what we're looking at there, I think, with Broekhoff. Shout out to Julian Smith, and let's see, thought I saw someone else on there, but maybe not. Oh, okay, yeah, DJ. I saw Anton Woods, and it was your comment, not your name. So, let's see, Julian Smith. Stephen Jones is becoming more and more Mr. McMahon, who's not patient when he fires Jason Garrett. Yeah, but I don't know that that's a horrible thing, honestly. Like, Vince McMahon, yeah, that's a horrible thing. Mr. McMahon's no joke, that whole character. But if he's firing Jason Garrett, then is that a bad thing? Like, if you're moving on from a coach that the vast majority of the fan base seems to think is holding the team back, is that a bad thing? I don't know. I think that they can win with Garrett, but I am on record saying that I think that Garrett is never an advantage for the team in a matchup. He is at best a push, or at times, particularly the playoffs, a detriment. I think he's a weakness for them, and I think that hurts him. And it's not just his offensive system. It's not just his general leadership. I don't care personally that he goes out and curses on all or nothing. That means nothing to me. Oh, he's not a robot like he is with the media. That means he's a great coach suddenly. No, he could be the saltiest mouthed dude ever. He could be R2-D2, where literally every word he speaks is a beep. I don't care. A bleep, whatever. I don't care. What I care about is the on-the-field product and whether you're winning or losing. And people who show like, oh, well, his first 10 years versus Tom Landry's first 10 years. Man, that is so beyond a different era of football. It's not even funny. Like, it's not even the same thing. Back when Landry was the coach, Your NFL players had off-season jobs like selling insurance. It wasn't anything like what it is today. And so you can't expect, like, oh, Garrett's coming along nicely according to the Landry model, huh? No. Not how it works. So we'll see, man. But I'm frustrated personally with all this hanging around Jason Garrett and hoping that he finally has a season where literally every single thing falls into place properly for them. And in fact, the closest he came to that, when I thought that it was all falling into place and he had no more excuses, was 2016. And he led the team out there to a very, let's say, lethargic start, falling behind 21-zip in the blink of an eye, 21-3. Yeah, they rallied back to tie it at 31. Probably should have won. They had the ball tied at 31 late in the game, but they never cashed in on it. So Garrett, even when he had it seemed like everything in place, still couldn't get a playoff win, and that's why I'm immensely frustrated with him. I digress. DJ, Anton Wood's been making noise on the defense. Anton Woods, yeah, I have liked what I've heard about him here lately. It sounds like he is even giving the first team O-line some trouble, and he's got some attitude to him as well. I like that. I like how he got up in Travis Frederick's face. I don't know what Frederick said after they went one-on-one, but yeah, he didn't hold anything back. And then, of course, you got Zach Martin flying out of nowhere, just jumping on top of the pile, and I'm just like, anytime you got a big man like that going airborne, I'm just like, please don't like tweak a knee coming down awkwardly or something. But yeah, Woods, I like what I'm seeing. He can be a very good rotational piece, I think. Let's see here. Definitely loving what he's got, says Rangers King. I'm good to go today if you want. Okay. Let's see. What I would do in that case, I would set up it's probably best if I talk with you like in a Google Hangout prior to bringing you on this sometime. So maybe not today, but we'll say Sunday. We'll figure out a time Sunday when we can do that, where I talk with you on Hangout first, and then we'll bring you in on that, Ranger King. So, Buddy Johnson, I want Chris Richard. He actually is out there with the defensive backs. Yes, Chris Richard, man, I hope he stays around. Like, I know people think that sounds crazy because we haven't even gotten to our first game with him, being the passing game coordinator, but I think he's having a really big impact on this team, not just from a hype level and getting the most out of guys like Byron Jones and all that. It's not just his charisma. It's also like his technique and everything that he's teaching these guys. This is the perfect pairing to change the course of Byron Jones's career. Byron Jones up till now has been considered like the workout warrior. He set the world on fire with the combine. His world record beating long jump, I think it was. Was it like some crazy number, like 24 feet? I mean, just bonkers. But other than that, no one's thought that highly of him. And as a safety last year, really no one was that high on him. So I think Richard is exactly the dude he needed at this stage in his career to kind of change his trajectory. That and, of course, being moved back to cornerback where he's a better fit. But we'll see. Hopefully Richard is at the very least the next defensive coordinator, because Marinelli considered retirement this offseason. So I could very well see him with Chris Richard in place. If the defense is good and everything, I could see Marinelli stepping down and Richard being promoted. Or if the whole thing goes in the crapper, then I could see, if Garrett were to get fired, Richard being very much considered for that head coaching spot. And I don't think we've had a black head coach for the Cowboys, to the best of my knowledge. No, can't think of one. So that would be historic in its own right and kind of cool to see. I don't care personally about that factor. All I care about is putting the best coach in there, whoever he may be, or I'm totally open-minded as long as it's the best person to fit the role and to produce wins and get us back to a Super Bowl. We're way overdue for number 6 at this point. Raya can do more than hold his own against Raya. Raya can do more than hold his own with his charge drawing ability. Oh, Ryan. He's talking about Brokoff. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah. Brokoff. Experience which aids him in defending off the ball. Man, I have got to fix the text padding whenever you guys have multiple lines of text. It's a learning experience for me. I can change that on the fly. And I know I said that last time and then didn't, but this time I actually think I can. It'll refresh probably, but it'll fix it. I'm looking more than forward neutral about him, but we'll see. Yeah, all right. Robert Seaton, what's up? Need a new offensive coordinator. We've had too much talent to be that basic on play calling. Sorry, nose is itching. I'm trying not to sneeze. All right, I'm good. Yes, last year was atrociously vanilla play calling for the offense, and really that's been the case the past several years. And I think what it's really boiled down to is I think that they've kind of had the approach of being when it's working, they say that it's okay. Well, that didn't fix my problem at all. When it's working, they say that, like, oh, that's the strength of it, because the simpler it is, the fewer mistakes you have. When it's not working, it's like, well, yeah, it's not working because it's so simple. It's easy to defend against. So it just depends. In 2016, we ran a pretty simple offense too, but people couldn't stop us. And that changed considerably once we got to the next year. And I think probably, I think they are going to be more creative this time. I think they realize they have to be, because every coordinator or every coach, other than the 2 coordinators and the head coach, pretty much went on the chopping block this offseason. And they have been doing things a little more creatively with the receivers. They're lining up. Obviously you got a bunch of smaller receivers, a lot of guys that can play inside or out. You're seeing things where you have Tavon Austin and Cole Beasley both outside. Like, the padding it's adding is not between the text. I know line height, but come on, son. Come on, DDP, get it right. But I digress. I think the offense will be more creative this year, and I think one thing you're going to see too that I've been clamoring for 2 seasons now is for Zeke to get more involved in the passing game, because frankly he has to. He is we know he's phenomenal out in space. When he only has to make one man miss, he is extremely deadly. And he's taken, in his first 2 years, screen passes of 83 yards to the house, and I think the other one was 70 yards to the house. Yeah, one of those was San Francisco before they got better toward the end of the season. But the other was at Pittsburgh, and that one was legit. Especially that one. The San Francisco one was also extremely impressive, but the Pittsburgh one was, to me, more impressive just because you saw his blazing speed with that as well. Andre, what's up, man? DJ, we can have a frog or a coach as long as he can make in-game adjustments and reach. Yes, agree 100%, DJ. I don't even care who the head coach is, as long as it is someone who can do the job well. Let's get it. Let's get after it. Jason Garrett has no chance of keeping his job. I'm liking the wrestling vibe you got going, Julian. I'm digging it. That's probably also some play off of my having a wrestler in the thumbnail of this, I'm guessing. Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys know. If you know who the Sports Fury is on YouTube, definitely check them out. They do a ton of sports streaming, everything from NBA to NFL. They're doing season, like 30-minute minimum season previews for all 32 teams. They had me on, actually, this past Sunday, so yesterday, I had mentioned that previously. I went over and met with them yesterday and recorded a season preview for the Cowboys. That should be out, I'm guessing, in about a week, maybe a week and a half. But yeah, that's coming. That was really cool. They're two very bright guys, and they live stream the game, so they'll have the game on. You don't get to see the game, of course, because of copyright, but you'll have, I think you can typically hear the game a little bit in the background with the audio, and then you have just their commentary. They have various graphics and things like that they'll put up there too to keep you updated with everything going on. And it makes for a cool experience. I've watched a couple of their events. They also do like wrestling pay-per-views and World Cup and college football and so on and so forth. Dudes are beasts in that regard, so I'm happy to be working with them. Michael Gallup is going to be the best wide receiver we have, Andre says. I think so. I called when they drafted him that he would be the number one receiver by the end of the season. And he's been a little inconsistent some days at camp. He'll have days where he's killing it and he's getting, a ton of great catches and he's running these crisp routes that's just leaving defenders tripping over themselves. And then he'll have the next day, where he drops a couple passes or one hits him in the chest and gets away. And I think part of that just happens. I mean, when Dallas drafted this year, although I would have told you that, let me start off with this part. I view Dallas's first 3 rounds as phenomenally good drafting. I think overall they had a very good draft, but the first 3 rounds in particular, I think they got 3 top 50 players. The funny thing about that, although I think he is very good, and I'm glad they got him, if you look at my reaction at the time during my live stream, I don't look that happy that they got him. But assuming that the injuries that I was afraid of are not a problem, I think LVE is who I would rate the 3rd best acquisition of the top 3 rounds, the top 50 guys I mentioned. They got Gallup at 81. They got Connor Williams at 52, maybe? Something like that. And, LVE at 19. And maybe 152 for Connor Williams. I can't remember the numbers of the second round at that point. All I can tell you is I think they got 3 top 50 players, and that I would tell you of those 3, I probably would rate LVE as my 3rd personal favorite of those. I think Williams is the biggest impact, and then I think Gallup is a close second. And yeah, then I got LVE. I think LVE will be good. It's just a matter of his health. If his neck isn't a problem, if he can stay healthy, because he only had 1 real good year at Boise State. And we have a weird fascination with Boise State players apparently around here. So if he can stay healthy and prove himself, then that could be a very good pickup, I think. But we'll see. At Dallas Prospect. So good news. Terry Layer shot 36.6% from NBA range 3 on 82 attempts. Okay. Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. I like that. Robert Seaton, I believe the additional receivers we have added now would have complemented Dez really well. Yeah, so on the record for that, I've said it before. I've said it on videos. I've said it on streams, previous streams like Dallas Prospect Live on Thursdays. Tune in if you're not already. I've said that I think Dallas probably... Oh, hey, Sports Fury, what up? I was just talking about you guys. I've said before that I think Dallas moved on from Dez Bryant a year earlier than they should have. I really think that... Well, he's not helped himself at all since then. And it's kind of starting to feel like the Crazy X a little bit, where now you're kind of like, maybe that was a good idea. Maybe it was a good idea to break up, but... At the time, my reaction was I wanted to give him year 3 with Dak, and I felt like this receiving core with Hearns, even with Gallup, well, Gallup was drafted after. Dez was cut before the draft. So with Hearns and the other guys, Beasley and all that, I thought the receiving core would probably be better if Hearns complemented rather than replaced Dez. But that's not what we got, and we've seen how everything has shaped up with Dez, since then, it's been over 4 months. He's still unemployed. He's chosen a couple of very inopportune moments to kind of blow up on Twitter. And I get it. Like, he's frustrated, and I'm sure he's been more than humbled because he's gone from saying when we cut him, he went from telling Jerry, "You're going to see me twice next year." Okay, in the division. Then the whole division comes out and says, "No, not interested." So he starts working out with Odell to try and push the envelope with the Giants, talking about how sweet that offensive machine would be with Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham and him and Eli and Ingram and all that. And then nothing happened. Giants didn't bite. So then he's like, all right, whatever. So then there's talk of him going to Green Bay. And then that fizzles out because Green Bay apparently says, Aaron Rodgers specifically says, I don't know why we would sign Dez if we already cut Jordy Nelson, but whatever, if he's here, he's here. So that dies. Then there's talk of the San Francisco 49ers, and he follows them on Instagram or something, and a couple of the players as well. And then the next day, their front office comes out and says, we like the young receiving core we have already. We're going to pass. And then you're like, okay, fine. The mindset switches, and now we're going to go into training camp mode. Cool. What do we got in training camp? Well, the Saints have signed 2 or 3 receivers, both of who are, at least in terms of name value, scrubs compared to Dez. New England's flushed out 3, 4, 5 receivers, it seems like. That's an exaggeration, but they have had a lot of turnover in that receiving core, and they've not brought him in either. The Cleveland Browns had interest in him, and that would reunite him with Todd Haley, which could honestly be interesting. I know the Browns are about as dirt a name as there is in the NFL, but I do think that they are at least generally on the right track. Although I did see something saying that from 2009 to 2016, they had 11 first-round draft picks, and now after trading Coleman today, literally 0 of them are still on the roster, which is just mind-numbingly like crazy. Like that's the definition of ineptitude, as much crap as the Cowboys got for various drafts like 2009, 2011, things like that. That is insane. But regardless, I don't know whatever happened after his blow up right before meeting with the Rams. That was the whole getting just a little snippet out of context quote from Stephen Jones, and then him blowing up and lashing out at guys like Sean Lee and all of that. I don't know, man. It's crazy to me how he's kind of torpedoed his own free agency at this point. And I feel like if you're Dez's PR guys or his agent or whatever, you've got to be just sitting there like just losing your mind. Like you're in a burning building and your own client's the guy setting the fire, still running around actively spreading it, and you're just kind of like looking around like, well, shit. So, I don't know. I think Dez will land somewhere. He's 29. He's not done. He's got a lot left in the tank, I feel, but he's got to be in the right situation. And frankly, I think he's got to kind of be quiet with regard to lashing out. People don't want drama. Like the day of diva wide receivers, especially diva wide receivers who at least have the perception of declining skills, is done. Like, they're not going to do that. The reason Odell can get away with it is because he's still a stellar wide receiver. So Dez, you gotta reevaluate your priorities a little bit. Let's see. Yep, Sports Fury, what up? Yeah, like I said before, guys, follow Sports Fury if you haven't already. I got a couple collaborations coming out with them here soon. Rangers King, the Scipion shot chart. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, email that to me or something, and I'll post it on the social media thing, or if you end up having a scouting report follow. By the way, if you guys haven't read Rangers King 669's scouting reports for the Mavericks, spot on stuff, like really good in-depth. He always does 2 versions of any breakdown. He'll give you kind of the more common speak, easy to follow thing for casual fans, and then he'll do a deep dive after the fact. And both of those publish at thedallasprospect.com. So check those out if you haven't already. Kid OSU. Kiddo SU, who do you think? Oh, sorry. What do you think Dennis Smith Jr. will average in his second year? From a points perspective on Dennis Smith Jr., let me look up his exact average from this season, this past season. Dennis Smith Jr. averaged 15.2 points, 3 boards, and 5 assists last year. So I'm going to take a stab out there and say he will average something in the neighborhood of 16.8 to 17.2 points. I think he takes a step forward there. Part of that is just that Luka will help create for him a little bit. I think his rebounds will stay about the same. And I think his assist numbers will actually go up a smidge as well. Because here's the thing. Not only is it him being a year further along in his development, but a guy like Luka Doncic who can really move the ball and create for his teammates, that's infectious. Like, when he's finding his teammates and he's getting guys involved, it really is infectious, and you're gonna start seeing the other guys kicking them around too. And Dennis Smith Jr. can be that kind of playmaker as well. I don't know, not to the same degree, but he can absolutely get his teammates more involved. And I think your mindset kind of shifts a little bit. You stop thinking like, okay, look for my own shot as much as he might have last year, and instead he's evaluating. He's like, okay, well, let me try and get my teammates involved, or let me look for the best option here. Like, oh, Luka made this sweet pass. Let me see if I can top that or something to that effect. But you see it with like the Spurs when the Mavericks won in 2011. The thing that won it for them was gorgeous ball movement, very good defense, and frankly 3-point shooting. But that was the big thing for the Mavericks in 2011. The ball movement was king, and the Spurs have been a pinnacle model of that. The Warriors are very, very good at that. If you look at a team that should have been the Warriors and was thought to be the Warriors before Golden State became what they are, that would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was what they always lacked, is they never had that phenomenal ball movement. So it's a toss-up there. DJ, has Dak shown improvement? Dak's been a little inconsistent, I think. I know in this blue and white game, he had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Neither touchdown was to a wide receiver. It was to Jeff Swaim and Zeke, I believe. And, you know, it was reported that it took him a long time in training camp scrimmages to actually throw a touchdown. And that's alarming, but I don't think Dak is... This is going to sound weird, but I don't think Dak is a practice guy. Dak plays better when he's actually got the game in front of him and he's actually competing. I know that sounds weird because you should go into practice competing. But I think it's different with Dak, because you'll watch him like at the Pro Bowl week or whatever in 2016. He got beaten in a passing competition by his coach, Jason Garrett. He goes on like ESPN or something in a passing competition against the long since retired David Carr, not Darreck Carr of the Oakland Raiders, David Carr, formerly of the Houston Texans from like 2002. And he lost, and he lost badly. And you're like, first of all, Dak, you need to fire your PR guy. That was horrific to let you go on there and do that. But he does better in games. 2016, he was very good. Very good. And that's why that people say that I'm a Dak apologist. I really don't view myself as that. He has to prove he deserves a big contract and that he is the guy. The reason I lean in favor of Dak is because I look at his first 25 games, that includes the playoff game versus Green Bay, and then I look at his last 8 games. Yes, the last 8 games were damn bad, but there is more than enough empirical evidence in the first 25 games that he is a good quarterback. I think he works best when he is the complementary piece of the offense as opposed to being the guy. When he has to be the thing driving everything, the main component, that's not him. When he's the, what's the word I'm looking for? When he's the primary feature. I don't know. Something to that effect. It sounded wittier in my head, but it got jumbled up a little bit. 2K says they got something for us at 10 a.m. Central. For us as in the Mavericks or us as in general NBA 2K fans? I don't know. I'll be interested to see what that is. So 10 a.m. Central, so tomorrow. All right, interesting. I personally think that if we trade for Earl Thomas, that will put our defense over the top, especially if everybody is healthy. Imagine Earl Thomas wants to play for us so bad, the impact on the young guys. Yeah, so with Earl, I really do think it will have a big impact on this defense. I do. I think he could be what puts the team over the top. But here's the thing with that. The asking price has to be right. And Dallas they earmarked their second-round pick in the draft for Seattle and for Earl Thomas. But Connor Williams fell to them, so they didn't do it. Then they called Seattle offering their third-round pick. Seattle didn't budge, so they took Michael Gallup because they liked him a lot as well. Apparently not quite as much as they liked Earl, but they rolled with it, and I think they got a real player. So they're not going to overpay for Earl Thomas, and while I think Earl could put them over the top, and especially if we're talking about their primary best chance championship window being the next year or two, I think it would help them there, but I honestly think as good as Earl is, I think that they are also pretty good in general right now at safety, believe it or not. I do. I think Xavier Woods is going to show big growth. I think Jeff Heath is going to have a much better year. He's already got a bit of a clutch factor to him. In that playoff game, he picked off Aaron Rodgers twice. Second one was called off because of a Mo Claiborne hold or illegal contact after 5 yards on the opposite side of the field when Rodgers never even looked over there. But, that is what it is. He kept the season alive for at least a week last year when he forces that fumble off Derek Carr at the very end of that game. So I think Jeff Heath will be better, and I've heard he's played very well at camp at training camp. So him and Byron Jones are probably the two most underappreciated defenders we have. Tyrone Crawford's in there somewhere too, but that's another matter. I think what Dallas needs more is a good defensive tackle. And I believe you still got guys like Jonathan Hankins out there and Snacks Harris. Now, they're not guys who are going to really get after the quarterback, but they are guys who clog up the middle, and that allows your edge rushers to get there. When your quarterback can't step up in the pocket, your opposing quarterback, you can wreak havoc. And if you look at, for example, the Eagles and the Giants Super Bowls in the last decade, it's been when they've had stellar defensive fronts, and it's anchored in the middle where they clog things up, they keep the quarterback from stepping up, and that allows the defensive ends to come around and to get involved. And it's buying them that extra little time where the quarterback can't step up to get away from them. So I think they need that. And, there are some whispers and some concerns that David Irving might not return to this team at all this year, even though he's got a 4-game suspension. He's in, last I checked, rehab. So I don't know what the status for him is and if he'll come back. He's in a contract year, so really he has to play, you would think. But if his demons and his issues are bigger than the game of football, then that's what you got to deal with, So I don't know there. That's a really tough situation. But so I think that's what they need more so is a real defensive tackle. And, you also have Malik Collins trying to work back from his broken foot as well. So that's another reason there that position feels a little more shallow. You've had guys like Price show up and, other defensive linemen as well, Anton Woods, as we mentioned earlier. But it still feels to me like a weaker point on this team right now. Trying still just to adjust this chat a little bit, see if I can't clean it up. It'll show up plain, and then it'll apply my styles. Hey, we're not crowded. All right, there we go. I fixed it. Sweet. All right. Now, let me check out here on... I'm going to pull up real quick the comments on Prospect Facebook page and on Phantom as well. Hirsch Patel, I thought Alan Hearns was at least 6'2", but he's smaller than that. Alan Hearns is listed at 6'1". I honestly think he's a misleading 6'1". I think he's 6'1" with cleats on. I think he's probably more like 6 foot, maybe even 5'11", because, yeah, he's not as big as I thought either. Michael Gallup is listed at, I think he was listed at 6'2", but I think he's more of a legit 6'1". So when those are your two biggest receivers, you're a pretty undersized receiving core. I mean, Dez was, what, 6'2", 6'3"? So, I don't know. But Gallup can win some jump balls too, and he's a very nuanced route runner. He's not explosive fast, but very nuanced route runner, knows very well how to sell the intricacies of his route to throw off the cornerback, to create separation. If you look at his very diverse route tree in college, he won on, I think, virtually every route type he ran. Like, the quarterback rating going to him in almost any scenario was phenomenal. So, Hearns is listed at 6'3". Wow. All right, Vanilla Mamba says listed 6'3". No way he's 6'3". He's 6'1" in cleats as far as I can tell. But, anywho. Robert Setton, should the Mavericks have stayed in place and took Bamba? He can potentially be that Anthony Davis unicorn type. I don't think Bamba has that side of offensive game to his projection, personally. I think he can develop a good shot, and I think he can be a little bit of a stretch 5. But I don't think that he's going to be an Anthony Davis style guy. Yo, Glare, I was starting to wonder if you were going to jump in, buddy. But no, here's the thing. I wouldn't have hated Bamba. I wouldn't have. I had him, the 3 guys I wanted. So I didn't think that they were willing to trade up. I really didn't. So I was convinced Luka Doncic would go in the first 4. Guess what? He did. I didn't think Dallas would trade up, though, unless it was the Memphis deal. I thought Luka Doncic probably would go something like 3. And hey, guess what? He did. And so when I was doing my video, even the pie in the sky Memphis trade that never materialized, I was like, okay, if you get 1, maybe 2 picks, then to me, before I knew of the second Michael Porter Jr. back surgery and the fact that he might not even play this year, I was saying, okay, that guy's got a KD comp, and you already got your sort of Russell Westbrook comp last year and Dennis Smith Jr. There you go. You got your KD, your Russ, you're off and running. And if you get 2 guys, you get your KD, your Russ, and then you get Bamba, who's going to be a rebounder and shot blocker, and then eventually have a little bit of a 3-point shot, and holy crap, you have something legit. So yeah, Porter was off the table once I heard after the fact about the surgery. When I saw him falling like he was, I realized, okay, there's something that we don't know yet. And then it came out, second back surgery, and I was like, okay, yeah, I probably would have been out on him too. Granted, falling as far as 14, I might have been tempted to still trade back up and get him. That's just me personally. Again, I think Dallas had a very good draft. But you have that, then you have Bamba. I would have liked Bamba, but of the 3 guys, Doncic, Porter, and Bamba, I would have rated him 3rd. I guess after the Porter thing, I would have told you 2nd for Bamba. Here's the thing, that the Mavericks don't view next year's draft as especially strong. They turned down the original offer from Atlanta, which was to say 3 for 5, and then we take Wes Matthews, you take Kent Bazemore. Dallas said no. They turned that down. They instead took the deal that gave up a top 5 protected first rounder next year. And Dallas has no intention of being in that top 5, so they basically just pretty much, with all certainty, said, hey, take this pick. We're not going to try and hold on to it. We would rather go for it and just give you this pick to keep Wes. Now, part of that is because Wes Matthews has an expiring deal, which means he's going to be an interesting tradable asset to somebody between now and the actual trade deadline. Adjust my camera here, smidge. Get my shoulder room back. But Kent Bazemore had 2 years left on his deal, and although I like the role he could have provided, and obviously Dallas has the cap room to deal with that, it's hard to argue when Dallas's plan is going to keep them open with something like $70 million next year. So maybe they know what they're doing. Shout out Ari Timken. I see has joined on Facebook to watch. Let me try and multitask here. I got the prospect chat up. Let me also try and get Phantom rolling. Oh, hey Ari. Comments. I guess I'm curious if you're still at training camp. Let's see, Cha. All right, pulling me up on Phantom as well. I see we got some comments over there. I'm coming, guys. Don't worry. If Facebook would load. I tried. It's loading. I'll get to that in a moment when it's there. But let me take a look here. Barry B. I think the Mavs went into this draft with a Luka or bust mentality. He was their guy when they knew what they were doing in the draft. They must have tanked knowing. Yeah, they've been very high on him for some time, and I think that they absolutely wanted him. But I don't know that it was a Luka or bust thing. In fact, I heard some suggestion at one point that the misdirection for them, the smoke screen. Whoops. Oh, you guys can't hear that, but I accidentally turned on audio in the background that was right in my ear and surprised me. But the smoke screen for Dallas was, in fact, Bamba, from what I understand. So that's interesting in that sense. I don't know who Dallas's next option would have been had they not been able to swing the Luka Doncic deal. But you are right that Luka was absolutely the guy that they were hell-bent on getting. And I don't know how much more Dallas would have been willing to give up for Luka, but it might have been a fair bit. So, interesting there, but we'll see. If not Luka, who else? Asks Ray Rixey. Or Rix. In that round, you would have had like Jalen Jackson, Wendell Carter. Those were names I heard also kind of tied to Dallas. But really, the main things I heard for Dallas, the two loudest voices I heard were Doncic and Bamba. So, if not Luka, maybe Bamba. But again, I also heard that was a smokescreen. Although that was just kind of something casually thrown out there, so I don't know. That kid in Memphis got showing that he can... Yeah, absolutely. That's Wendell Carter, I think. Yeah, but yeah, he's showing out for sure. Let's see. Cha. Phantom. Shout out John Misak and G. Garcia. What's up, guys? It's telling me that there are 6 comments, but I only see the 3 of you. All right. So, yes, Jaren Jackson. That's what I meant, not Jalen. I knew it sounded weird. I was like, I was knew it was JJJ, 3J. I laugh at QB regression when the defense gives up 4th and 26. Yeah, not always a pretty situation there. But we just gotta see. Ray wanted Jaren and Mo. Yeah, I mean, again, I would have been happy with Mo Bamba. Admittedly, I wouldn't be as happy as I am given what they got. I think they got the bigger difference maker than if they had gone with Mo Bamba. And when I say that, I'm talking about like foundational piece, because I think Mo Bamba, he's a pillar just like Rudy Gobert is for Utah. But Rudy Gobert isn't the show in Utah. They had to go get that guy. That guy was Donovan Mitchell. And before him, it was Gordon Hayward. So those are the main guys. That's your face of the franchise. Your Rudy Goberts and I think your Mo Bambas. Those are very, very good foundation pieces, but it's not the same as getting your guy. And I think Luka and Dennis together can be a like 1-2 punch of that guy. I do. Hirsch Patel, I guess it makes sense as to why he was put in the slot more. I think he's talking about Hearns. Yeah, Hearns played 73% of his snaps last year in Jacksonville out of the slot. So that's definitely a comfort zone for him. Vanilla Mamba, I'm happy with Doncic, but Wendell Carter is a baller. Yeah, He is, and here's the thing too. We didn't get to see Luka in Summer League because, as we knew, he had just wrapped up his Euroball league, and they wanted to give him rest, give him an actual kind of quote unquote off season to rest. So they had him practice with the team just to kind of get familiar with the scheme and some of the team and all of that, and get just a glimpse of him. But they didn't ever run him out there for a game, and they did run out Dennis Smith for at least a little bit of Summer League, which kind of surprised me, especially without Luka playing. But I'm not worried about Luka, honestly. I think people who watched Summer League and they saw like Jackson and Carter stepping out and showing out, I think that they kind of are sleeping a little bit just because Luka's not as fresh in their mind as far as like having just played. All they see is highlights, and it's like, oh, those were from months ago. But it's different in that scenario for sure. Let's see. Got time for 5 more questions here. I'll make some mention of something. I love their games. Yes, absolutely. Ray talking about Carter and Jackson. So I'll make some mention to the wrestling thing I have on my video there, or on my video thumbnail, I should say. So part of what I'm going to try and do is some of my collaboration stuff I'm going to be doing in the near future, whether that's Sports Fury or whatever. I'm going to be stepping out a little bit, doing kind of guest spot stuff for a bunch of different channels, and part of that is going to also involve some actually wrestling content. And that's cool. I mean, I was a huge fan of that growing up. I mean, obviously DDP, right? That's the whole moniker that I'm paying homage to and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know that there's probably a super tiny percentage of my current base of subs that likes that, follows that, but hopefully, it's not going to affect the other content I got coming out. The Mav stuff, Cowboy stuff, all of that's going to continue. But hopefully you guys maybe like me enough that at the very least it entertains you. But we'll see. If not, hey, it's the extra side that you don't have to order, right? Barry B, Darreck White and Lonnie Walker made Tony Parker expendable. Yeah, they did. Lonnie Walker, man, he's raw, and I know he didn't develop quite like they thought he would in college, but he is absolutely a stellar pickup there, and I was surprised that fell to the Spurs, honestly. Darreck White, he's good as well. I'm not as familiar with him, but yeah, Parker was absolutely expendable, and it looks really weird from him going in silver and black, or white and black and silver, however you want to say it, to suddenly those like teal Hornets uniforms. But it's weird for sure. Murray, a baller in San Antonio too, though. Yeah. To me, Kostas was doing a little playmaking and a monster on defense. Kostas is more raw than Giannis is, was when Giannis came into the league, but he still has a very high ceiling. He is a freak athlete. He does make things look effortless. He needs to develop his offensive game. Right now, he just kind of leans on his athleticism. His shooting form and elements like that are really not clean, but we'll see. That Kostas family is kind of crazy. The youngest of that batch of brothers, who I think is like 16, I saw some highlights of him the other day, and he looks like a legit Greek freak in his own right. So maybe there's some really good genetics running through that family, and we're just getting the second member of it with regard to coming up through the system. So should be really cool. Let's see. I have no idea how many of the 5 questions I've taken already. Let's say 2 more quick questions, and then I have to roll. I just wanted to hit that button. So anyway, while I'm waiting for you guys to fire away with those questions, I'm going to chip in with a couple of, I guess, kind of outro stuff. Oh, Coops11, what's up? What's a good player comp for Jalen Brunson? Well, his idol growing up was Steve Nash, which is why he wears 13. But I don't know that he's got that same degree of it. I know he had a little bit of a disappointing summer league, but I do think he's very good. I do think he's a very good, like, for years to come, your backup point guard now. Maybe not immediately because they have a crowded backcourt. You still got Devin and JJ Barea in the mix, and of course Dennis Smith's going to be there. But I do think you'll see a healthy dose of him moving forward for sure. And it's just a matter of figuring out how best they want to utilize him. As far as a player comp, let's see. I think he's a lefty too. Maybe made Yogi realize he wasn't going to get enough. Yeah, Barry, I agree with that for sure. As soon as Jalen Brunson was drafted, I was like, oh, that does it for Yogi. And for a minute, I looked like I was actually wrong. And then Yogi decided that I was right. So I guess that worked out, but we'll see. Brunson maybe I don't know. I maybe a little less swaggy version of Nick Van Exel, maybe. But anyway, while I wait for the last question to fire off here, I'll just go into the kind of wrap up. If you guys haven't already, find us, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We are now on Twitch. Follow us there. I think follow is the correct term for Twitch. We're simultaneously broadcasting on all these different platforms anyway. Thank you to Phantom. Again, shout out to the Sports Fury. If you're not already following them, subscribe to them. Absolutely do it. They have great content. Be on the lookout for a lot of these collaborations I've got coming down the pike here soon. Check out the website, thedallasprospect.com. If you want to help support us to create better content, better, more frequent content, hit us up on Patreon or Super Chat or PayPal, whatever. Hit us up. Anything that we earn, we put back into the site. It all goes towards better software, better equipment, being able to pay editors, contributors, things like that. And we're going, man. We are a self-startup thing, and we are trying to make this into its own legitimate media source and everything like that. We are trying to be legitimate sports journalists, and hopefully we do that. But I think we will. We have a lot of good energy behind us and a lot of good momentum. So stay on the lookout for more stuff we got. Let's see. I'll read these last couple comments, but I don't see any questions. But I gotta wrap it up anyway. I think Powell's days are numbered with Spalding getting drafted. I think so too. I think Dwight Powell's got next year on his contract as well. These last 2 years here, I want to say, or maybe he's after this year. He's got a year or so left on his deal, and I think after that, there's probably a better than likely chance they move on anyway. Spalding is a much more talented power forward. And Powell, I think he's already kind of reached his ceiling for the most part, and even whispers, from what I understand, around the Mavericks suggest that they kind of think and fear that same thing as well. So if that's the case, then hey, he was pretty good last year, and it wasn't a whole lot to show for it, but he's all they have to show for that Rajon Rondo trade now. So you bled it out as best you could. You got everything out of that lemon you could. So that's it for my time, guys. Appreciate your time. Time. Redundant. But that's it for me. I appreciate your time. Check out the site. Follow us. Do all that great stuff. But most importantly, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute.